Nvidia just announced their new generation of graphics cards, and the online tech community is losing its collective mind. On September 20th, Jensen Huang, Nvidia's CEO, announced the RTX 4080 and 4090. As expected, they're touting massive performance gains and large price increases. Something that's not expected is causing tech bloggers and YouTubers to go crazy. They announced two variants of the RTX 4080. Indicated only by the memory capacity, the 16GB and 12GB variants can seem identical at first glance. This isn't true though. From this chart you can see that the 16GB variant has a larger die, more cores. It's a better card, which is why it costs more. This brings back bad memories because in 2016, just a month after releasing the GTX 1060, Nvidia released a GTX 1060 3GB, which had 10% fewer cores to go along with the smaller memory capacity. This wasn't readily apparent.
The GTX 1060 3GB card's existence is curious. It's one of these two. They look the same, but it has one less SM. The change between the 1060 $200 card and the 1060 $250 card is actually somewhat significant.
And based on the small $50 price difference, it would be easily assumed that you were getting an identical card, just with less memory. At the time, I, along with the rest of the community, believed that Nvidia was trying to scam the consumer. Since then, I got an MBA, and I learned two valuable lessons that have changed the way I look at everything I buy. First, things cost what they cost. Doesn't matter what a company sets the MSRP. People will pay what they think a product is worth. We'll come back to that later. Second, people pay for performance, not for spec. All they care about is that the product they pay for does the job. But these commentators all seem to believe the same thing, that Nvidia owes us, the gaming consumer, a particular set of specs and features, with a particular name, at a particular price. If any of these three axes are out of alignment, then they're trying to get away with something. PC Gamer thinks that the numbers don't add up. Digital Trends seems to think it's a rebranded 4070. I'm not sure how you can rebrand something that hasn't been released yet, but they're just following the Galaxy Brain take at the hardware subreddit, so you really can't blame them. With the 30 series, Nvidia apparently made an unbreakable tacit agreement. Whatever improvements they make in performance and efficiency, they promise to give us the same number of cores with similar pricing at each tier of card. It doesn't matter how well these cards perform against previous generations or against their competition. All that matters is what percentage of their theoretical maximum they give us at a particular price. So if they sold the 3080 with a full-size 102 die, then they must sell the 4080 with a full-size 102 die. What's that? The 103 die used in the 4080 16GB can deliver 2 to 4 times the performance of the RTX 3090 Ti, and the 104 die in the 12GB variant can deliver up to 2 times the performance of the 3090 Ti? Doesn't matter, they're trying to take advantage of gamers. A surprising number of people are repeating the claim that the 4080 is actually a 4070, as if the classification of these cards just exists somewhere out in the universe independent of the manufacturer's decision making.
4080 12 gig.
But the RTX 4080 12 gig, in my opinion, isn't really an RTX 4080, or shouldn't be called that. If you look at the stats, it looks much more like an RTX 4070.
Here's where they've made two big mistakes, and I wish they would just correct these instead of trying to mislead the public, and that is the 4080 12GB. It's a 4070, and we all know that.
It's like they think they're at a petting zoo where they've put a horn on a pony and called it a unicorn. Jay's 2 cents even goes as far as to say that Nvidia believes its consumers are stupid and just doesn't care.
The misleading duping attempt once again of Nvidia saying our customers are stupid, they'll buy whatever we put out, of calling it a 4070, people would have called out the $900. So instead they changed the name thinking nobody would really, I think, call this out. There's also another possibility here. Nvidia knows and they just don't give a frick.
I respect most of these guys and rely on them for reviews of the products that I buy, but in all cases they seem to have no idea how these markets work or how consumers behave. There's an element here where they need to show their audiences, which are made up of average gamers, that they got their backs. But mostly it seems to be a complete lack of understanding of how these large-scale consumer markets work. What's that? I should prove it. Sounds like a good idea. Let's look at the numbers. The RTX 3080 used a full-size 102 die with 8,704 cores. While it was supposed to retail for $700, the same price as the RTX 2080, consumer prices skyrocketed in 2020, and it was easily retailing for more than $1,000, peaking in reseller markets for more than $2,000 for the entirety of its run on the market up until last month, which is relevant, but again, we'll return to prices at another part of the video. The RTX 4080 12GB, the one everybody's pissed off about, has a smaller 104 die with only 7,680 cores, and it's set to retail for $900. If that is the only information you have, then it's understandable that you would be confused and probably not go out and buy one. I don't understand why you would be mad about it, but it's your blood pressure, so do what you will. But that's not the only information that you have. You have this chart which claims, and independent testing will tell us if it's true, that this smaller die with less cores matches and beats not its predecessor, the RTX 3080, but the previous flagship, the RTX 3090 Ti, which launched at a ridiculous $2,000 MSRP and still sells for near $1,200. It is a better card regardless of core counts or memory bus, and that's what people buy. You can spend $900 in October and get better performance than what was selling for $2,000 6 months ago. And as long as that's true, Nvidia is giving people exactly what they want. These commentators are acting like Nvidia owes us the full potential of their engineering. It doesn't matter if the new design is twice as powerful and twice as efficient. They owe us 8,000 cores for $700, and it had better be on a full-size die. Honestly, they're acting like people are going to upgrade their GPUs like it's a house with an unfinished basement. They don't owe gamers a full-size die for $700. They owe gamers $700 worth of performance for $700. And what it looks like is that they're going to give us $1,200 worth of performance for $900, which is a steal. Let's return to the first lesson. Things cost what they cost. MSRP stands for manufacturer's suggested retail price, and it is just that, a suggestion. Just like car makers can't set the market price for their vehicles, chip makers can't set the market price for GPUs. When the 30 series was released, it was a foregone conclusion that those MSRPs were a joke. The 3070 outperformed the 2080 Ti, which at the time was selling for $1,200. There was no way a $500 MSRP was going to be sustainable, and soon enough that card was selling for $800, $900, even $1,000, because that is what the performance was worth. Even with demand down and used cards flooding the market, the prices for 30 series GPUs is only now returning to MSRP, excepting the 3090 Ti, which seems to be down about 40%. The prices for these new cards, based on their stated performance, which isn't real until independent benchmarks come out to corroborate it, but is all we have to go on, is exceptional. The 4090 has 50% more cores than the 3090, and is selling for just a price increase of $100. And let's not forget that the 3090 Ti, still selling for over $1,100, is set to be outperformed by the 4080 12GB MSRP $899. Consumers care about performance per dollar, which is a stat that most of these commentators have spent a lot of time focusing on over the years. Suddenly switching gears and focusing on core counts and die size is bad form, and is likely to mislead their audience more than Nvidia's own marketing will. Because in the end, all anyone cares about is how well their card runs games, or encodes videos, or does whatever it is you bought it to do. Hopefully, when they get their hands on these things and can run benchmarks, they'll calm down. Or at least they'll depress the market so I can get one at a discount. Soon enough, we'll hear an announcement from AMD about their new generation of GPUs, and we'll find out if they're going to undercut the pricing of Nvidia the way a lot of people are hoping that they will. I'm inclined to think that they won't, because Nvidia probably learned their lesson in 2019 when they were so surprised by the RX5000 series that they had to release an entire new line of super GPUs. That's probably why we haven't heard anything about their low and middle range GPUs. They're leaving a lot of space in case AMD does come to the table with something remarkable. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and thanks for watching.